Hey class, now that you know a little bit about Premiere Pro and you've watched through my common mistakes in Premiere Pro video, starting projects, and intro to the basic features video, you want to get started on that first project, or maybe you've dove into it a little bit. Hopefully if you dove into it, you have gone through the rubric and you understand what's expected of you in it. Always go through the rubric as well as the assignment sheet in your projects before you get started with them. I know you're excited, I know you want to edit some videos, but general rule of thumb, it will save you some hassle. Okay. Now, with this project, I do have a tendency to kind of update things every semester a little bit, so there may be some minute differences as you watch this video. Always make sure you are meeting any criteria on the rubric, even if I'm not your instructor. This is going to be what you're graded on, so make sure you're checking all these boxes and you're reaching out to me or your current instructor if you have any questions about it and you've gone through everything, because we're trying to set you up for success here. We want you to do well. It makes instructors' lives way easier when students do well on projects, so we really don't want you to fail. It is going to be a struggle. Obviously, video editing is hard, but we want you to do well. So go through these things. In this video, this is part of the instructions. I want to give you some tips on how to make this easier. This video will also be nested here, so the one that you're looking at will actually be this video right here. So it may feel like a little bit of videoception here, but I like to go over my intro assignments by talking to people, because I also teach in person, and I think it just helps when you get to hear a voice explaining what's expected of you. Common things I see in this project, or common mistakes I see, is people just putting things in a random order. There is a very intentional order with this process. And with video editing, as you've learned from your modules, we're not just slapping clips on a timeline, we're telling a story. So while this is not a super complex one, it's kind of a how-to video, you want to make sure that there is an order to the clips that you put on your timeline, unlike in my demonstration here, where stuff is random. So watch through the process and figure out which order you think the clips are made in. I hear it all the time. Jesse, I don't know how beer is bottled. I didn't know until I watched this either. Just use some logic, watch through the clips, and get it into a logical order for a viewer. If this was your client, you may want to talk to them and make sure everything was correct, but I want to see your use of logic in this project. So, for example, if I see empty bottles here in the beginning, a logical procession is to see maybe some different shots of the empty bottles, having some shot variety. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing there. And then progressing into the shots of them capped. I haven't imported all of the footage here, so I just have some limited stuff for the example, but showing them being capped and then putting some footage of other steps in the process that you think are visually aesthetic, thinking about wide, medium, and tight shots like we've learned from lecture, and how to make it make sense. So figure out the order, make sure it's logical. If you have shown empty bottles and then you've shown them capped, if you go back to showing these empty bottles, so let's say I put this clip here at the end, and I've ever seen cap bottles and I've seen empty bottles, that's a continuity error. That doesn't make sense in the story. So watch out for things like that. And this is part of your story. So you can do an intro montage, like you could do some quick cuts of the entire process and then show the process at length in the middle part. Currently I have it set at 45 seconds, so maybe you want to spend 10 seconds or 5 seconds on a montage. 10 seconds would be kind of long. So 5 seconds and then go into the rest of the story, and maybe you end with another montage, or maybe you're showing the process twice or something like that. I don't necessarily recommend that, but if you think there's a cool way to visually represent it, I'm okay with it. Also, if you see another story here, you want to personify the bottles, get creative, go for it. It's not required, but you're not locked into just showing a how-to video. This is just an intro assignment to get you comfortable with Premiere, continuity, showing things in the correct order, balancing sound, all those good things. But if you are maybe not new to video editing and you want to get more creative, I totally encourage that. It just needs to be a story that makes sense, that shows good editing practices. So other things to note is you want to make sure that you have natural sound. So when you're dragging down your clips, you're going to be listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, Jesse, why do you want to hear that? That sounds terrible. Well, it makes your footage feel more real. And watch the audio tutorial. You probably haven't watched that yet. But we will get there and talk about editing audio, but it is a pain to go back and hunt for that natural sound. So when I say nat sound, I'm talking about the sound attached to this video clip here. It makes it feel real. As humans who are fortunate enough to be able to see and hear well, we expect sound to be associated with our visuals. If we see a visual and we can't hear the sound our brain expects to hear when we see that, it doesn't feel real. So it's a great way to make your videos feel real. We're gonna learn how to use that. So make sure you're dragging down this nat sound. You'll learn in a future video how to balance it and make it sound good, because we don't want it to sound like this nonsense just throughout. We're gonna balance it, we're gonna make it sound clean, but just drag it down there. That's kind of the basic intro to this project. Again, make sure that you are going through this entire assignment sheet. Make sure that you know what's expected of you, that you go through the entire rubric, and also that you're going through the lecture modules. Even if you've done editing before, I guarantee you will at least learn something in those lectures, and you're in college. You have to do that. That's just part of it. I know it's an online class, but go through those lecture videos. I have some very specific things, and they are made to set you up for success in this project. In all the projects, not just this one. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about your projects after going through all these steps. Again, please go through the lectures first and the assignments sheet first. Give it a solid shot. But just because it's online doesn't mean you don't have access to your instructors. Please reach out to me if you need anything and you're struggling. I really want you to do well in these projects. I think this is becoming my catchphrase now, but happy editing!